Hello everyone. For this episode of JEE Prep, we'll be doing the physics chapter electric charges and fields, and we'll be specifically focusing on the topic Gauss law. First question: the magnitude of electric field E in the annular region of the charged cylindrical capacitor is, and we have four statements about it, and we need to find which one of them is true. So first, let's draw the diagram for the charged cylindrical capacitor. So if let's say this is the cylinder talking about, since it is charged, the charge would be on the outside like this all throughout the cylinder, and then let's say this is the axis of the cylinder and the radius is r and the length is l. It is given that electric field is E. So we know that electric field over here and over here would be the same. So both of these would be E. So that means flux can be written as integral E dot ds is equal to Q enclosed by epsilon naught. Now we assume that lambda is the linear charge density. So lambda will be equal to Q by L, which gives Q enclosed equal to lambda into L. And over here, since E is constant throughout, because E over here and here would be same, we can take it outside of the integration. So we get E into integral ds. Now the charges and electric fields are on the curved surface area of the cylinder. Therefore, we will take the curved surface area as integral ds because that's through which the electric field lines go through. So 2 pi RL is equal to Q enclosed. We wrote it as lambda L. So lambda L divided by epsilon naught. And then if we take out E from here, from the electric flux, we get LL will cancel each other, lambda by 2 pi R epsilon naught. Now lambda is a constant because that's the linear charge density. 2 pi epsilon naught is a constant, as we know. Therefore, we can from here we can conclude that E is inversely proportional to the radius, where radius would be the distance from the axis. So therefore, it is inversely proportional to the distance from the axis. So over here, you can say that option C is the correct answer for this question. A would not be true because if R increases, it will decrease. And B is also not true. And D is also not true. So option C varies as 1 by R is the correct answer for this question. Next question. Two infinitely long mutually perpendicular wires have linear charge density lambda 1 and lambda 2 and are placed at a separation of D. Find the force of interaction between these two wires. So we have two mutually perpendicular wires and they are placed at a separation of D, each having density lambda 1 and lambda 2. So let's say if this is one of the wires and there is one the other wire is a distance of A from here, so the other wire would be going inside the plane or outside the plane because it's infinitely long. So then we can say they are mutually perpendicular because this will be the x-axis and this will be the z-axis, and they also have a distance of A between them. So we have successfully drawn what the question is suggesting. And now we had to find the force of interaction between these two wires. So let's take this as the origin and let's consider this as the x-axis, and let's take a point at a distance x from the origin, a small element of the wire. Then the charge of the wire would be dq and the length of the wire, the small element of the wire, is dx. So there will be a force due to the wire, and let's say this wire has lambda 1 and this wire has lambda 2 charge density. So a force will be acting away from here Yes, yes, both of them will have the same charge, same type of charge, let's say positive, we assume. So the force will be away from each other, let's say F, and the angle formed over here would be theta. Then this F can be divided into F cos theta and F sin theta. Now, similarly, if we take another element at a distance of negative x from on the x-axis, so basically x distance in the other direction, this would also be of length dx, and it would also be of charge dq because it has uniform charge density. So therefore, there will be another force. This would also be F because of symmetry. So this would be F cos theta and then F sin theta. So from here we can conclude that F sin theta does not correspond to the force of interaction because it will cancel each other. So if the, let's say one point is a distance x, a from on the positive x direction, then there will be another such point in the negative x direction which is also a distance of a, whose sine component of force will cancel each other out. So only the cos component is affecting the force of interaction between the two wires. So therefore we can disregard the sine component as all of them will cancel out each other. So then we need to find force between them. So df would be E into dq, and then since you are already taking the cos components, we'll write cos theta. Now cos theta, now first we need to find the value of E. Now E for an infinitely long wire is lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught into r, where r is the distance between them. So over here, this would be the distance r between from the point and the infinitely long wire which we are considering as lambda 1. So r can be written as root a square plus x square using Pythagoras theorem. So E over here in this case would be lambda 1 because we're considering the lambda 1 wire, 2 pi epsilon naught into r would be root a square plus x square. And then dq can be written as, since dq is part of the wire with lambda 2, we can write it as lambda 2 into dx because it has uniform charge density. So, and cos theta can be written as, if we look over here, if this is theta, and cos theta can be written as a by r, cos theta equal to a by r. Now r we know is root a square plus x square, so a by root a square plus x square. If we replace this in the formula, and we'll also integrate together, it integral df is equal to integral E would be lambda 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught into root a square plus x square into dq will be lambda 2 into dx into cos theta would be a by root a square plus x square. Now if we take all the integral df would be f, force of interaction between the two wires, and then if we take all the constants out, we'll have lambda 1 lambda 2 a by 2 pi epsilon naught into integral 1 by root of, sorry, root, and into root will become, the root will cancel out, will become a square plus x square into dx. You have lambda 1 lambda 2 dx a 2 pi epsilon naught root a square plus x square into root a square plus x square, a square plus x square. So then we are stuck. So we need to use one of the calculus formulas, which is that integral 1 by a constant square plus x square dx would be equal to, so we have integral dx by a square, or for general formula we'll write integral dx by c square plus x square would be equal to 1 by c into tan inverse of x by c plus c if we are doing indefinite integration. Over here, the limit which we have to put is from minus infinity to plus infinity because we are considering infinitely long wires as suggested in the question. So we can write this as lambda 1 lambda 2a by 2 pi epsilon naught into integral of this, which we just said is 1 by a into tan inverse x by a with the limits from plus infinity minus infinity to plus infinity, and then we can take 1 by a outside because it's a constant, and then we get f is equal to lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 pi epsilon naught into the a would get cancelled in a and 1 by a would cancel, and we have tan inverse of x by a. So tan inverse of x by a from minus infinity to plus infinity. So if we put the value, we get lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 pi epsilon naught into tan inverse of infinity minus tan inverse of negative infinity, which is lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 pi epsilon naught into tan inverse infinity is pi by 2, tan inverse minus infinity is minus pi by 2. So we get lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 pi epsilon naught into pi by 2 plus pi by 2 equal to pi. Pi will cancel each other. So F, force of interaction, force due to the lambda 2 by lambda 1 would be lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 epsilon naught, and if we check in the other way also, we will get the same answer, lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 epsilon naught. So if we look at the options, we have option B as lambda 1 lambda 2 by 2 epsilon naught, which is the correct answer for this question. And so let's go to the next question. A charge q is enclosed by an imaginary Gaussian surface. If the radius of surface is increasing at a constant rate dr by dt equal to lambda, then flux linked the surface increases at a rate d phi by dt equal to. So we had to find out d phi by dt in terms of lambda. However, we do not need lambda for this because we know that to calculate electric flux is equal to q by epsilon naught, where q is the enclosed charge. So over here we have an enclosed charge over here and a Gaussian surface for radius r, saying that only the radius increases at a rate of lambda. So if radius increases, let's check the formula. Q enclosed remains same and epsilon naught will still remain same. So electric flux does not change even when radius increases, and so we can write d phi by dt as d phi by dr into dr by dt. And so we know that d phi by dr, as radius increases, nothing happens to the electric flux. So this would be 0 and to dr by dt into will be lambda, but 0 cancels out, so we get 0 as the change of electric flux with respect to time, and it is 0 because with respect to time only the radius increases and there is no mention of charge changing. So therefore d phi by dt would be 0 for this question. And that's all for this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and for more of such questions, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until then, take care. Tata for now.